go kitchen and cut myself. Yes, it's okay, finished. I no more feeling, I just thinking to kill myself.
That is truly very painful and difficult to hear you. I hear you.
Yes, I
Have you tried to intentionally do that when you see the kitchen knife? Have you actually attempted?
I tried one time, but my daughter came in, and I just see, sometimes I just shut up and just do it and stop the feeling, everything.
Yeah.
I know as a Christian I cannot think this way. I know that, but I'm sorry I can't help myself.
No, it's okay. It's not your fault. I'm sorry that this is happening to you. I hear you, Sharon. Thank you so much for sharing this with me. It is very, very valuable, and I truly honor your heart, and I do hear your heart. It's very special, important. It matters. Okay.
These people are coming back.
It's not easy.
Success coming back.
So I hope you all caught that. What did you all pick up? Did you manage to pick up that I wasn't saying things as, you want to? That's of course not what we do, right? Yeah. But instead of you stay with them, as I hope you saw. Yeah, you stay with them and then you go in further and ask them. Because contrary to belief, before we go to that part that I was going to say, we were supposed to talk about our cultural issues surrounding suicide, but what I wanted to say is that, this part here where I was asking her, so have you tried it already, and then what is your intended single question? You go there because contrary to belief, even though some people say, if you talk more about suicide, they will more likely do it. Do you think that's true?
No.
Yeah, that's not true. Actually, contrary to it, when you actually find out more about your client and allow them to air and share with you what their intent is in their mind and in their hearts, it helps to air their thoughts. And actually they feel more relieved that you're allowing them to share their thoughts about it. Okay? So anything else that you all noticed from the role play? It was clear, right? I hope it was clear. Okay, great. Then we can move on. So group discussion time, we're going to talk about our cultural issues around suicide using these questions. Okay? What is it like to discuss suicide with a client in your culture, and is suicide considered illegal in your culture? I think we can do this as a group here. Yeah, so feel free to just air out if anybody wants. What is it like to teach in Cambodian culture? Maybe let's start with this one, the first question. What is it like to discuss suicide with a client? Is it difficult?
Quiet.
Quiet?
Nobody discussed on that.
Nothing.
Even in the Buddhist culture or Buddhist teaching, it seems that it may in Cambodia they mostly go to the pagoda, but nobody talk much about prevent suicide. And the law, I don't see any law to protect.
To protect the ones that intend to take their lives. Okay, all right.
Yeah, that's good to hear from everybody. Like Yatra, you maybe have heard about that, or leader.
It's happened in my province. Before it's happened to the girl that rich family. Suddenly she just committed. And I heard so many people start to talk, but they try to put the fault on that.
Yeah, the blame on
Yes,
the person.
On the person.
She's stupid.
And when she already passed away, I feel like, what? I'm just shocked.
In shock. It leaves you also in a little bit of
Yes.
trauma, right? How could this happen?
Yeah. And not just only, I think it's sometimes it is in a village. It's also create a bad image to that village, to the family,
Yes.
to like shame, like,
It's shame.
and they don't want to talk about that.
Yeah.
If he's is a community leader. That wow, I heard that in your community have people commit suicide. He was like, oh,
Shameful for me. Yeah, it's very huge, isn't it? It's more than a ball size 5 problem. It's like so overwhelming. Now, actually, in Cambodia, we found out as a team that actually it's considered legal. That means it's not illegal to suicide. That's why back to Bong Parit's mention about there's no law to protect. It's because actually the law doesn't prevent or say it's a crime to suicide. But it is if it is physician assisted or voluntary euthanasia. That means if someone says, I want to die, go to a doctor, go to the doctor. Doctor, I want to die, please help me die. And the doctor does that, it's illegal. Yeah. But if the person does it to himself, then it's not technically wrong. Well, it's legal, it's allowed. So that's why we want you guys to know also that because of this, please do not feel overwhelmed with the responsibility that you're responsible to save their lives, or because actually by law, your law in your country, this is what it says. So while we are going to always have that tension of, no, I've got to help that person, Jesus wants to save, God wants to save, and isn't that our job, right, as a counselor? There is a little bit of, just want to take off that weight on your shoulders to know that there is a little bit of responsibility on the part of your client also to be responsible for their lives, even if it, brings shame to your culture or for your village. And I know in Asian culture we struggle with it a lot, which is why God wants to honor us and help us find this way out, okay, of suicide. I read also that usually it happens between ages of 15 to 19, the youth, right? On Sunday, we had a very wonderful Sunday worship meeting, and they were talking about it, the youth were talking about it. So just take note of that there's a prevalence in your country and culture for these age group. And actually it's also the same in my Singapore culture and also in Thailand. So we as counselors must be able to talk about it. We cannot just shy away, all the more because it's not being talked about. We need to know how to do safely in the safe space of our counseling room or practice with the ones we are called to care for. And if you're uncomfortable, we need to also ensure that we can get our own help for such thing like through supervision with your mentor or a pastoral counselor who's above you, who's mature enough in experience, like Nimit or Jenny or someone else that they can recommend to you, okay, to engage help with. Earlier on, I came to this myth thing and wanted to ask y'all said that this is not true, right? Is it true? If I ask about suicide, they will do it, or be more likely to do it, since then they want to do more.
No,
It's not true. What makes you think it's... Yeah. Okay, don't worry, I won't go there. Yes, it's not true. It will actually help them to air their thoughts. And that's what we all need, right? Even when we're not suicidal. And how about this? People who are suicidal will do it anyway, so no point to help. Is that true? Why help? They want to do it already, so I don't. Yeah. The truth is, the one who has suicidal intent, our clients, need us to throw them a live buoy. Okay, a live buoy of what we were showing just now. Somebody who can show them and give them safety and be non-judgmental in our understanding and care for them through empathy. The only exception that you would not keep it confidential in the counseling room and say, okay, I won't tell someone else, but it's just between the two of us. And if they're Christian, it's between two of us and God. Is if they are already intending to commit suicide and already intending to do it. Okay, then you have to do something that we call suicidal or safety management plan. And I will be handing this out to you now so that you can have a look. Okay? Safety management plan. Please feel free to pass it on. So in your safety or suicidal management plan, you need to ensure that you still use IP. You give your client choices. You don't want to also force your client, you must come with me to the hospital now, I'm going now. You cannot rely on me. We can't do that, even if there's something in us that wants to do that. because you need to respect also their choices and not make them feel even more overwhelmed by your pushing or pulling them. Okay? And also, as you can see in your safety management plan, I'll go through it right now, and if you have questions you can ask. You want to know who can, this is for your client by the way, you will sit down with your client and run through it together with them, and you go question by question, okay? So you can convert this to Khmer because I did it for myself in Thai when I had to work with my Thai clients, and you can convert it to Khmer, okay, after this session. You would ask the client, so who can help you besides me, and how? Is it your father, your mother, and maybe if it's not your family side, a close friend, or maybe your spouse, or your boyfriend, girlfriend, or your older friend, someone, okay? And then who can, you will ask your client, who can I call? Such as your friend, a professional, or helpline. Yeah, I think you have some helplines here, right? In like the police or the ambulance, yeah. And what would I say to someone else in your situation? This is a very good question that I'd like to ask my client because it does reverse psychology on her. It makes her think through, yeah, what would I say if I want to help someone? Now the client may or may not be able to fill up this depending on how bad their depression is. Because I know that if someone had asked me this question when I was in the fog, I would not be so sure. But regardless, it's a good thing if there are some of our clients who may be able to think and answer this if they're not so deep in their suicidal risk. Also, where can I go that I feel safe? You want your client to have a safe place to go because many times people who are suicidal are so overwhelmed by maybe trauma in the home or too much, difficulties in their workplace. They don't feel safe there or they don't feel safe at home, right? So where else can you go that they feel safe? And then what have I done before that's worked? Okay, and then so on and so forth. So make sure that you do have at least one relative's phone contact number, mental hospitals if you could, if not just your general hospital, and then also help, hopefully a psychiatrist or psychologist. Yeah. The next thing that we want to talk about is, okay, the 5 steps, the cure for suicide, right? We talked about. So first is, we start with the C step, the connect step, with the triangle. As you saw just now, what I was trying to do with Sharon Sasa was to have a connection with her, okay? Sasa, could you tell me, did you feel connected in that session? Did you feel that I was doing like...
Yeah, I felt that she's really caring, and my thinking is very important for you to care, I feel the connection.
Okay, thank you so much. So you want to have that connection, okay, with at least one safe person. The suicidal plan needs to feel like, okay, I have some, like that life buoy you saw in this carabiner, I use as an example. I have something to hold on to, so that not, I can't take it, I want it done. I have something to hold on to that will keep me safe, and that would be yourself. And you need to remember that you need to stay also connected to who is above you and the client in the triangle. That's right. So we want to do this because studies have shown that as long as a suicidal person has one person they can stay safe and connected with, the risk gets lower. And I can say it's true from personal experience. Also, the next step is we want to understand. So we use the square and the circles to understand them again because we need to know why, what is called underlying that need to end their life or end the pain, kill themselves. What is underneath it, the pain that's causing them? We will only know it when we fill up our circles and see the full picture, right? Or at least the key points in the circle that is causing them, like anxiety or overwhelming sadness in the mood sector, right? And so on. And you can ask them how they feel on the square as well, which I'll go into in later. But for now, the point, as I mentioned earlier on, is allow your client to talk it out rather than act out like what Sasa Sharon was saying. I want to do that. Rather than encourage them there, we want to encourage them, talk it out. Tell me and let out all that pain in your heart, and that's overwhelming you in your mind. And as mentioned earlier on, it's their inability to cope with the pain and the pressures of life, right? As we see in Sharon's case, then the urge to die that results in suicide. So ask these questions when you're trying to understand them, right? Because you need to know what is causing the pain that's driving you to want to end your life. What pushes them? What's happening? And as we can see in Sharon's example, that's a lot, right? That's really a lot, and you would understand why they would want to, end their life, because it's too overwhelming. So understanding is important. And also in the heart sector, this is what someone with suicide ideation actually looks like in the heart. It's a broken heart with all these red triangles of no or low self-esteem, broken sense of love because they were betrayed or shamed, and then loss of role in their self-identity and worth. There's a sense of hopelessness and deep despair. They don't know what to do. I just feel trapped because I don't know of a way out yet. And also false center. For some of the people, I think you've read, right, about the global financial crisis and even COVID. Yeah, when we lose our jobs, we lose our money, we lose our sense of security, and we don't have a job. Who am I? Some people put their identity in their work, and if they lose that, that might just cause them to, I have no more hope. There's no more point to living, and then it could drive them to suicide too. So it's important to understand these. So ensure you know who could be one other person besides yourself, because you don't want it all on yourself. That's not how God intended it to be. Only God can take the weight of everything. And find out how you can help. So that question, how can I help you? Is there someone else in your life that you're willing to talk to and feel safe with besides me? Okay? So that we're not so overwhelmed. And just now, I mentioned about the square on the step of understanding. One very easy assessment tool that we're going to teach you now is this square. So you use the square to ask them with that question just now I mentioned. On a scale of 1 to 10, or using this square, you could use either the question or this picture. Sometimes a picture helps. I use this with my client, and you ask them, where are you now? And it doesn't have to have this this thing here. I'm only putting it here because this is for, like, if let's say your client already knows God, yeah, and then you can explain more. But if your client doesn't know God or anything, you can remove this too, and then just ask them on this, show them this square. Where would you say you are? This is flourishing, this is suffering. Where are you? And it will reveal a lot. Yeah. I had one client who showed me that she's somewhere here, and she knew how to use this to show, so I could understand her better. So this square really helps, very simple. A second assessment tool that we wanted to teach you is this 10 assessment questions, okay, to know where are they, because suicidal people can be mild, medium to high risk, low, medium to high risk, okay? So we're going to practice now in groups of twos, in pairs here, but before I do that, just remember that when you're asking them these questions, your intent is not to, if anyone of you are fearing, oh no, would it make, it's not, it's to understand them better so that you can help them better, okay? So these 10 questions. And then you're gonna pair up now and also decide who will be the client, who will be the counselor. The person who decides to be the client will decide if you want to be low, medium, or high risk, so you can have fun with that. And then the counselor will just ask without knowing your partner's decision on the risk level. Is that clear? Is this part I said just clear? Yeah. So pair up, and then the client, the person playing client, decide, are you low, medium, or high risk? Don't tell your counselor, and then your counselor partner has to use the 10 questions, ask you, and do it in Khmer, please, because I know it's easier and more realistic. And just find out after you finish asking 10 questions if it was right or wrong. Okay, check for accuracy. And please don't worry if it is not accurate because it's your first time.